This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is brought to you by Everplay Sports and Social. Look, for 10 years, I have absolutely enjoyed the time that I have spent every week playing in leagues that have been brought to us by Everplay Sports and Social, whether it's kickball, softball, bowling. Everything they do is just fantastic, and the way that they do it is just absolutely great. So I need you to know, right now they are signing up for their late fall leagues. Monday indoor volleyball over at Tri-City Leisure Center in West Columbia. That's going to be 5 weeks. You got Tuesday sand volleyball at Pollywogs. It's another 5-week session. Wednesday flag football, 7 weeks at B Avenue. Leagues are signing up right now through October 8th. That is the deadline. So make sure you go to everplaysocial.com, because if you don't, you'll miss out. Go do it now. You will have a great time. You get to be with friends, you get to meet new people, and you get to participate in sports that we did as kids. So go do it, everplaysocial.com. Proud to be a sponsor of the All About Nothing podcast. All right, good morning, everyone. This is the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, host of the All About Nothing podcast with Zach King. You can find me on social media at Barrett Gruber. This is Bill Kimler, host of Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jamil Brooks. You can follow him across all social media. Across it at Political Bill SC. Good morning, Bill. How was your weekend?
Good morning, Mr. Barrett. The weekend was super fantastic as usual.
I see some of the scars from your new ventures. For those that
my
don't
new
know,
lumberjack service.
Bill is now a tree service provider. This is something apparently that did you just decide one day, hey, I want to do this, and this was the weekend to do it?
Have chainsaw, will travel. Once you get a chainsaw in your hand, man, it is addictive. I've gone over 50 years of my life without ever holding a chainsaw. Then
Really?
This year, I decided I had some dead limbs on trees around my house and nothing major. But I was doing it all by hand. I was hand sawing the shit out of my yard. And I was like, I'm over 50 years old. F this. And went and invested in a chainsaw. And it was like the best moment of my life, because now I'm out there slicing through these limbs like butter. I mean, it was wonderful. Yeah. But that's not where I got whooped a little bit. This weekend was about removing a tree at my church.
Okay.
And it was the entire tree down to the stump. So it wasn't just, a limb here or there. It was the whole thing. So me and two other fellas did the deed. And so I did my tree removal quota for the year. I'm done.
That is felling a tree is definitely an event, especially if it's not something you do on a daily basis. We had a professional tree service. I think that's actually the name of their company, Professional Tree Services. They came out to our house several years ago and actually fell 6 pine trees in our backyard, mostly because I was sick and tired of having to deal with all the pine straw. And pine trees in residential spaces are just, ready for God's hand to knock them down into your house. So, especially in the sandy soil I live in, it's not very conducive for your insurance policies for one of those things to fall through your house. So,
well, taking down the tree was about 5 minutes. That part was fun. It was picking that shit up afterwards. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That took hours to break apart the branches and the wood. I mean, it was heavy. I think it was a locust tree. I mean, that wood was solid and heavy.
It was just 2 weeks ago. So I have a white oak that's in my front yard. And 2 weeks ago, I decided that it was necessary to take some limbs down. I was preempted in that thought because we had a UPS truck that drove into a branch that went through the top of its roof.
Ooh.
And the UPS driver, of course, pissed off that a branch from a tree hanging over the road from my house came up to the house and said, your tree put a hole in my truck. And I said, well, I'm really sorry to say that, but I'll just, and I told him, I said,
and you went and disciplined the tree. You give it a good talking to.
I may have shook him down a little bit. Because I told him, I said, look, I'm going to be honest.
You damaged my tree.
it's a residential road. It broke off. It's a residential road. Not a lot of traffic on it. And that tree didn't jump out at you. Like, you saw it coming. we have trucks drive up and down all the time and know it anyway. So regardless, there is a county ordinance that the tree has to be at least 15 feet above the ground so that any vehicles can pass underneath it. I was not in the compliance, I guess.
So are you on the hook for repair of the truck?
No, UPS has insurance for that bullshit.
Okay.
They made $14 billion in profits last year. They're fine. But in respect to your weekend, I did spend the weekend taking all of the branches that were under that 15 feet down. I mean, it looks great. And it's going to make the tree healthier because that means it's not supporting all of those lower limbs that don't get sunlight. And maybe I'll have some grass growing under my tree again, which would be really nice. But I did spend from Friday until Sunday literally cutting up everything so that it was down to those little 4-foot sections that the sanitation department would take away. And it was a lot. It was I tried at one point to take off my wrist with the chainsaw, but I got really good at it. I was doing the ups and the downs and the rounds, and we had a pole cutter. That was nice. It was really nice. Real quick, I want to remind everybody that SoulHAUS Sessions with Priest Jacobs, the third iteration of this, is October 22nd at the Koger Center for the Arts. Doors open at 5:00. Dan Lish is going to be featured. He's actually coming all the way over from the UK. But it is going to be a Cola-Con, Columbia's Hip Hop Comic Con sort of ode to that show that Preach had put on several years ago. Tickets available at Eventbrite, or you can check the show notes at Preach Jacobs as well on Instagram. And if you use the code AAN at checkout, you get 50% off your tickets. So do that.
And if you use the code BWABITS, black, white, and blue in the South, if you use that code, they'll charge you double. So give that a shot. Hey, I want to talk a little bit of podcast business with you, if I may. Sure. Just a quick proposal. We've been at this for about a year now, right? We're heading into, we started January, right? First week of January of this year.
Yeah.
And we're about to hit the end of the first year. Again, just want to throw this idea out here because this morning was brutally hard getting up. I almost didn't make it. Like I almost fell asleep on the toilet. It was tough.
Goodness.
to get here. What if we shifted this to an evening kind of daily show? What if we did a 9:30 and put people to bed here on the East Coast anyway?
Doing that. You want to try?
I can go immediately.
Okay.
I could say, hey, let's cancel this show now and do it tonight at 9:30. Well, but again, I just want to throw the idea up there, and I'm if you say no, you're the boss man, and I'm good. I mean, you've got the boss man mustache. You know, you've got the prison guard look, so I'm not going to mess with you.
So two things. Chicago is in the playoffs, and they're my only team left. As well. I'm getting very excited about Super Troopers 3. Having ended production.
I read that.
This is a little bit bigger than the Super Troopers mustaches, but I am very excited about a Super Troopers 3 movie. I absolutely, but yeah, no, we can absolutely look at doing that. I think that would be fun. We might get a whole variety of new hate speech and whatnot in our comment section. So
yeah. I figure the hate speech we're getting now is kind of dulled by the fact that they're just waking up themselves, and then they haven't really cleared out the cobwebs. But 9:30, many of them have beers in them already. They've already been to the bar and had nightcaps, and so it could get a little more wild, I imagine.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. We could. So Tuesdays probably will be a little difficult because I have bowling on Tuesdays, but we could figure out which nights work appropriately. If not Tuesday, then maybe, Thursday. We could definitely take a look at that. Okay. So, okay.
Well, give me honest feedback. If you're not in favor of it, man, then let me know. You don't need to be Captain Friendly over there. You let me know.
I am nothing if not accommodating. That is. Hey, listen. I wanted to, okay. So actually, just going back to that, what if we did Mondays and Wednesdays? And the only reason I say that is because then these episodes would still publish on Tuesday and Thursday mornings.
Sure.
Oh, see, Ami has decided to cue in with her response. She said it's not like Barrett doesn't sleep at 9:30. I'll make it happen. Jeez Louise.
We can do the show from the comfort of our beds and blankets. You know, we just log in, roll over on our pillow, talk to each other before we go to sleep. That'd be really nice.
Honestly, there's nothing better than the TikTok videos where I see people laying in their beds and they're like. For those of you only listening at home or listening in the podcast, Barrett pulled all of his neck up to his chin. I wanted to talk about the Circuit Judge Diane Goldstein's house burning to the ground. I got opinions on that. I do too. The fact also that Governor McMaster's not even 48 hours after the event had come to a close, as far as the actual fire, made an announcement through his social media, is basically saying, don't listen to social media. This isn't some conspiracy, whatever. That the preliminary investigation has indicated that SLED found that there is no evidence to support that there was foul play. Yeah, because homes at the beach just spontaneously explode. Witnesses, according to Fitz News, have stated that they heard something explode. They heard an explosion before the fire. I mean, before they recognized the house was engulfed in flames. For those that don't know, Diane Goldstein is a circuit judge here in South Carolina that blocked the Trump administration's ability to immediately pull all of our South Carolina voter registration records. Is it a big deal that Donald Trump has that information, or that his administration has that information, especially for a guy that's not supposed to be able to run again? So it's not necessarily that Trump has that information. It's that the Republican Heritage Foundation, whatever, the group that is holding, I guess, Donald Trump's hand, has the last 4 digits of social security numbers. They have driver's license numbers. They have voter primary history records now, you know, because the Supreme Court went ahead and said, yeah, they can have access to that. But this is a judge that blocked that initially, and then spontaneously her house, you know, sets ablaze.
All right. So you want my opinion on this?
Yes, please.
I am disappointed in the liberals over this wild conspiracy leaps. Listen, when there's ever a shooting or something like that, we hate when the Nancy Maces and Donald Trumps and everybody else just leaps to within seconds of the event saying this is what liberal hate speech does. We know they have no idea who the shooter was. They have no idea the circumstances or the story. They know nothing, and they just jump right to a narrative.
Sure.
And we hate that. I hate that. I figure as an elected leader, you need to pause your ass and let the details settle down and see what the facts are, because otherwise you're just conspiracy mongering. And then here in this case, yes, there's a judge. Yes, she ruled against Donald Trump. She is one of 10,000 judges over time that have ruled against Donald Trump, right? So she's not sitting out there in an island she literally was sitting out there in an island by herself. But in terms of her ruling, right, she's just falling in line with most federal judges across the nation.
Right.
I don't know. I don't even know if she was a federal judge. Oh, yeah, she was a district judge.
Yeah.
So then weeks later, this wasn't like the following day. This wasn't like 2 days after her ruling. This was like a month after her ruling. Then her house caught on fire, and there was an explosion. So we're not going to doubt those facts. But the fact that our side, has now leapt to 5 million conclusions without any evidence, without letting the investigation pursue it, to me, that's just like, how are we doing any better than Nancy Mace, who went on a tirade seconds after a Charlie Kirk shooting, right? Yeah. Before any evidence, before anything was discovered. To me, it was like, guys, do we not listen to ourselves and follow our own advice? So I say, calm the F down, let the investigation proceed. Then if it's determined that if there was an explosion, explosive, or it was arson, knock yourself out. Let's go crazy. But how many times have we seen houses explode and it was a natural gas leak, right?
Fair.
We've seen it in city blocks. We've seen houses blow up.
Propane
and then it was determined
next to right.
There was we've seen that all the time. And to me, I'm going to use Occam's razor and say that's the most likely answer at this point. But again, I'm not going to come out with an opinion because we don't have the facts. And I think the way you characterized McMaster's statement was incorrect, because I don't think he said anything like, don't listen to social media, et cetera, et cetera. He said their SLED investigation has not detected any foul play yet. And he's just trying to calm people's asses down. Says, let the investigation proceed, which I fully support.
You're right. He didn't say
and
that.
Let's talk
That's
about
people in the comments that said that.
Let's also talk about the ruling itself. So yes, she ruled against Trump. And I think this is also the dumbest outrage. There's plenty of stuff to be outraged about. But getting access to South Carolina voting data is something you and I can do. Yeah. You can purchase for $80 the entire thing the government was after, the federal government is after. You can purchase it. We are entitled as South Carolina citizens. We can send some dollars to the South Carolina Elections Commission. They will send back to us a data disk that contains names of every voter, addresses of their registration, their voting history, not who they voted for. Again, it's clear. We can't tell who they voted for, but you can tell what elections they participated in. Right? That's accessible to you and I.
Yeah.
So the government getting it, shit, they can just pay $80 and get it themselves, or find a friendly, who's in South Carolina. They can have access to that same data. So I don't see what the big deal is. You talk about the last 4 digits of the Social Security number. They've got all my digits of my Social Security number.
True.
They already have it. So why am I all afraid of them having this information when it's something you or I can have access to? I just think it's the dumbest outrage personally. Now, I don't like the federal government getting involved in all this, so don't get me wrong. I'm not in favor of them, but if you or I could have it, then why not them?
Well, and that's one of the other things I think that I heard being spoken about. And it wasn't even from it wasn't on Fox News, it was on Newsmax, and they were talking about the fact that the federal government isn't supposed to play a role in any elections as far as having any data-driven information. They aren't. This isn't a role the federal government plays. All elections are run by states.
But they are having a role in this. You and I are in favor of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Yeah. That is federal involvement in elections. They have been involved in voting rights since the beginning of time, both restricting and enabling. Right? If it wasn't for the federal government, you would still have to have literacy tests in order to be able to vote. Right? So they're involved.
Yeah. I guess it's what in let's assume the best possible outcome. What does the Trump administration or his party have to gain from having this information released to them?
No different than what Republican organizations have done with the data already. There's already groups in all 50 states that have collected the voting rolls based upon their local laws. And then they go through and they scrape it, looking for duplicates, looking for possible fraud. It happened here in South Carolina. In fact, I got involved 2 years ago in an online debate with a lady who claimed she went to a seminar and some Republican operative found that people's voter registration date was, say, 2020, yet they have voted in South Carolina elections in 2018, 2016, 2012, right? And they said, fraud. They've got the data right there. So I was like, okay, well, that sounds like a bad thing. How could you vote before you were registered to vote in South Carolina? So I called our election commissioner here in Greenwood. And she says, yeah, the answer is simple. Every time you move to a new county, you have to register to vote, and that updates your voter registration date. So you could easily have lived in other counties throughout the state over time and voted in South Carolina elections just fine. It's just that your date's the last registration date when you last moved. It happens all the time. So basically, they read this data, they misinterpret the data, they get all bent out of shape over the data, and then eventually, poof, they go nowhere, right? And they just disappear. And that's what the federal government's trying to do as well.
No, we had multiple occasions when I was when I'd run elections here at precincts where we would have a senior and a junior that would come in to vote, and would have to wind up having, because, we verified their name, their address, their date of birth. Like, we look at their license compared to what's coming up on the screen before you allow them a ballot. And we did have at least one situation in the 2020 election, the general election, where I think we had a senior and a junior that came in, but the junior was the only one that was in the voter book, because what had turned out was that they had scrubbed the voter election roll book and found the entry twice. And because on one of the entries it didn't have the senior, or there was some information attached to the senior that made it look like that wasn't a valid voter registration. They couldn't tie it back to a driver's license because he was no longer driving or actively driving. And so they took his out. So they only had the junior, who was like 50 years old. The senior was like 80. So, that was, we had to do a, what do we call it? It's a, the ballot where they have to fill it out by hand. But anyway,
a provisional.
Thank you. So we did do that. And, so there are legitimate questions sometimes that come up during an election where having that information, a voter roll being clean, is not a bad thing. But calling all of it fraud, right? Because initially this gentleman who was there to vote couldn't vote, and just tore our asses out because he was pissed off that he thought we had done it. And it's like, I have nothing to do with that. That's the Secretary of State for the state of South Carolina. They handle all the elections. The election commissions in each county, they handle that stuff. Has nothing to do with me. I'm just here to make sure you can vote. But yeah, and you're right. It wasn't McMaster's. He simply he said, I echo Chief Keel's call for everyone to exercise good judgment and avoid sharing unverified information while investigation continues. So you're right. And I apologize. I don't imagine Governor McMaster's is going to hear this because of his hearing. Because he's 119 years old. Yeah. So I guess the circumstances around it, and you're absolutely right, and thank you for holding me in check. But the circumstances around it, I'm not saying that the potential is that a Trump would have called for the execution of a judge. That isn't what I'm saying at all. But there are some dumb people out there that do stupid things. And if Goldstein was, and it could have been Arnold, it could have been her husband, the possibility of either one of them having enemies is entirely possible.
I mean, the husband was a 70-plus-year-old man. I mean, he had to jump off the second floor balcony. He broke his legs and hip and had to be teleported. Airlifted to a hospital because they were on a remote island. But right. Hey, let me throw a scenario. 70-something-year-old man accidentally left the stove on, natural gas stove, and next thing you know, a little spark blew up the house. Again, I'm not saying that's what happened, and I don't want to be ageist, but is that more likely than a masked bandit coming by with a Molotov cocktail or an IED and blowing up the house on this remote island? I don't know. I'm kind of going to lead towards the former explanation on this one.
Bill, you are on the right show to be ageist.
Yeah. Listen, after taking down the tree, I feel like I'm a 70-something-year-old man myself. I don't not in shape to be that type of lumber activity.
I don't think I've ever gotten anyone age right over the age of like 70. They're all, I get them all wrong. So deployments of the National Guard.
Oh, yeah. There's something to be legitimately outraged about. So let's go with that. I'm good.
I am constantly dumbfounded by the fact that the Trump administration is being stopped by these judges that are finding his actions
his own appointed judges. Yes.
His own judges continue to put a stop to him, but his response is to almost immediately just go ahead and do it now. So Portland, and based on things that I have seen on between, because Fox News basically is running the same 4-second clip of soldiers and protesters interacting. And it's kind of like in Los Angeles. It was basically in front of a couple government buildings. And this is the same thing that's going on in Portland, is you have clashes between the protesters that are protesting ICE and protesting, which is their God.
I'm confused now because I can't tell the difference. Are these National Guards that are there, or is this more ICE agents that are there protecting their buildings? So I have no idea. They've blended together, and I cannot distinguish between the groups.
And you're absolutely right. I think in Portland, what we're seeing is ICE agents. Because
I think the way to tell them apart is that if they're picking up trash and doing landscaping, it's National Guard.
Yes.
And if they're harassing civilians, then it's ICE.
Yeah.
Is that the way to do it?
I think that's right. That's right. I've seen a lot of the videos of the ICE agents, or I've seen a lot of the same videos of the ICE agents from different perspectives interacting with people that are, I guess, standing up to them in sorts. I mean, they're not physically assaulting the ICE agents, but what they are doing is they're just not following their orders. And I don't know for the life of me what the law enforcement responsibilities of an ICE agent is. Like, if they are a police force that doesn't want someone standing in public sidewalk, can any police officer, if I've not done anything, can a police officer just tell me you can't stand there? If there's nothing there to say that, if it's not new concrete and they don't want footprints in it, or I don't know what role the ICE agents play in this policing.
Well, they get years of legal training before they're deployed with weapons and into civilian population. Right. So I think you can trust whatever it is an ICE agent says that you need to do, that they're equipped like a judge to know the Constitution and so on. So
it's uncomfortable. So Chicago now, Los Angeles, of course, before, Memphis, Shreveport, Portland. Apparently there have been statements made where New York, Atlanta, Seattle, and Jackson, Mississippi should be considered potential next deployments for this ICE force or potential National Guard. It's I
really hope next president is got retribution swift and fierce. Mar-a-Lago should be seized on day one of the next administration, confiscated and sold off for the benefit of the United States Treasury. And also all of his enablers. I want to see Stephen Miller's property detained. I want to see trials. I want to see investigations. We are going to have Nuremberg Part 2 to dive into this mess and how they felt that they were able to trample on our Constitution here on the eve of our 250th anniversary as a country. And they have just shit all over the Constitution. So I'm looking forward to that.
Speaking of the 250th, and I know we need to wrap up real quick, but I saw that the Treasury Department issued some proofs of what the potential 250th dollar coin could look like. And it has Donald Trump on one side, just the profile of his head. And then on the other side, it's him with his fist in the air. And the point
I said this during the election. I said, for me, there were two main reasons to vote against Trump. One was Supreme Court nominations, because I think that's probably the most damaging thing he's done out of everything so far. And another term just means more opportunities to stack that court. But then two, he would be the president during the 250th anniversary of this country. And you know how cringeworthy next year is going to be. I mean, we've already seen it with this damn coin. You see it with the UFC fight that's been scheduled on the White House lawn.
Yeah.
In commemoration of the 250th. I mean, that's, of course, what the founding fathers wanted, was blood sports on the lawn of the White House.
Right.
And it's going to be a whole year of excessive cringeworthiness. And instead of a celebration of respect and joy and reflection, it's just going to be cringeworthy, quote unquote, patriotism. The kind that you find in what's that movie about? Idiocracy. That's the movie. You see, mental wavelength. You knew exactly the movie I was after. That's what we're going to see.
Well, I'll just wrap it up on this, that there is an 1800s law that says that you cannot put a living president on a coin. They have to have been deceased.
Well, maybe they have anticipation. Maybe they know something we don't.
It's possible. It's entirely possible. I just, this is one of those things where it's just like, and I don't care if that he's on the coin. I could care less. I don't carry coins. I don't carry dollar bills. Like I literally have the same dollar bill I've been carrying around for the last 9 months.
You're a cheapskate. I always told that about you.
I am a cheapskate. That is absolutely true. But the thing that bothers me is that if this does happen, we will have money in circulation for at least the next 70 years of Donald Trump's face on it. And it's $1. So it's not a penny. Like, if we're going to get rid of the penny, then why not just put Trump's face on the penny for the next 6 months or whatever and let that circulate for a little while, and then they weed their way out. All right. I did want to talk about Trump's potential pardons for Ghislaine Maxwell and P. Diddy, but we can definitely do that another time.
Yeah.
Your eyes are going to roll. That's going to wrap it up for today. Big thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, you can follow me at Barrett Gruber and Bill at Political Bill SC. You can catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday, potentially later in the evening, coming up very soon. Maybe we'll even try this Wednesday night. Huh?
Well, I know Wednesday nights are your recording night. So
we've shifted our recording nights around a whole lot because out of respect for Zach's potential schedule. So that right now, Sunday mornings is when we've been recording episodes with Zach. We have an interesting guest that is supposed to be joining us who wrote a book, and I don't have it in front of me, but wrote a book on the similarities between Donald Trump and Aaron Burr when it came to being politically attacked. So I don't have 100%.
Did you respond to one of those emails again?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
and I'm really hoping this guy's going to turn
up. The week after, are you having a Nigerian prince on? I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah, he promised that if I gave him $5,000, it would be part of the initial fund into the billions that I will be getting. Please, I'm going to take advantage of that. All right, until next time, you all stay safe.